Hi, welcome to More to Come, PW Comics World's weekly, more or less podcast of comics and graphic novel news, recorded from various locations around the world and yet very close. I'm Heidi McDonald. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com and at KComicsBeat at kcomicsbeat.com. And you can find us on Blue Sky at pwcomicsworld.bluesky.social.
And I'm Kate Fitzsimmons. I'm the podcast producer, and you can find us on Publishers Weekly at publishersweekly.com/comics.
Do I jump in there?
Yes.
My name is Trayvon Malik Carter. I am Publishers Weekly's digital editorial coordinator. I'm also the A fiction editor at a San Francisco-based literary magazine called The Ana, and I'm also a novelist of young adult, new adult, and sometimes nonfiction.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Trayvon. We've been talking about having you join us here on the podcast for quite a while. And we definitely have found the right time for you to jump in. So, because this week, by the way, you can also subscribe to us in various platforms. Sometimes we're not showing up on Apple again. We're working on it. And if you do happen to find us on a platform that you can subscribe to, leave us a rating because we love to hear from our listeners. Well, this week on More to Come, BookCon, the controversy and the aftermath. Let's see. Oh, a manga author bullied off of social media. A bunch of comic shows that took place here in New York. Kadokawa's plans to take over retail and Webtoons AI avatar scheme. We have some deaths in the comics community this week, and also some layoffs at Mad Cave, and of course, the briefs. So, Trayvon, we've invited him here on the occasion of BookCon, which was held a couple of weeks ago at the Javits Center. And boy, it was a time to remember, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was a very, very full and hectic experience for sure. I only caught one day of it, but it was an experience to be had.
Yeah. No, Trayvon, were you going there to cover it, or what was your reason for going?
I it was a twofold reason. I went to capture some social media content for PW that I have not yet put together yet. And just as a consumer myself, I wanted to see it. I grabbed an author signature from Aiden Thomas, who I love. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, Now, had you been to previous book cons?
that was my first BookCon.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I think I might have skipped one, but I've been to most of them, including the first one. And funnily enough, I read what I wrote about the first one, and apparently there was 10,000 people, and they were complaining because there wasn't enough room. So basically, I got there at the crack of dawn for me, which is like maybe 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Because I wanted to go to the Rachel Reed panel, which is the author of Heated Rivalry, in case you don't know. And there was already like a gigantic line of people, like stretched all the way in front of the Javits. 93% female, by the way, millennial and Gen Z women readers. And I checked my phone, and you would have thought on Threads that this was like, you know, Napoleon's retreat from Moscow. I mean, it was like, oh, it's so just the complaints were making it sound like this was the worst experience anyone had ever had. And I mean, did you think it was crowded, or what were your experiences once you got there?
It, I feel like it was pretty crowded, but not to the degree that people were complaining. And I think it definitely looked a lot more crowded from the line outside than actually inside the space. And a lot of the complaints were, from what I saw, were coupled with pictures of the sea of people outside waiting to get in.
Mm.
But once you get through that, it felt like a normal con. Um, but I do think part of that, from what I've heard, a lot of people, it was their first con. So maybe
Or
they
their
just
first big one.
yeah. So they just didn't know what to expect, maybe. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean, it's like,
know having been to small town and niche conventions, the vibe is very different at like your local town's Hilton Ballroom
Yeah.
and a con held at the Javits. So I'm not surprised if like the bookish event they last went to was in like Pittsburgh and now they're here, that they're like, what is this? This is huge and crowded.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line is BookCon, when it was, the thing is, when BookCon was announced, which was last fall or maybe even last summer, it sold out within hours. Like, so, and this is before Heated Rivalry. This is
Oh yeah, it has nothing to
before
do with that.
Project
There's
Hail Mary. Yeah.
it
People were,
has, there's a lot of hunger for books out there. Like people still love books.
they do, but the thing that is, I think that made this really interesting is that they had canceled BookCon and for COVID, it didn't bring it back right away because it was not a success before, right? So that's why, like this one, they apparently, I mean, I've heard a lot behind the scenes about this, and apparently they looked at their readers, their surveys, right? Because ReadPop, which puts on BookCon and New York Comic Con, they do a lot of attendee surveys. They really rely on that, and they realize that romance. I mean, what genre? I'm not of this. This is not my fandom. So, what genre would you say that BookCon was focusing on?
It was a lot of romance, specifically romantasy, I would say, from what I saw. But it seemed like every panel block there was multiple romance or romantasy panels happening. It was dominating the con for sure.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
as someone who loves romance, uh, I actually can give you a little bit of history to this. Is that there used to be a big romance convention or two every year, and around 2020 they imploded because they were, run by romance like industry people who all had their own issues with each other because they were all authors. And it went down messy, and there hasn't been a big romance con since. So it wouldn't surprise me if the people who would have been going to those conventions, had they still been on, now found this for this niche. And like romance has been needing a con. Romance has a huge audience. It used to have
Mm.
conventions. It doesn't surprise me that the audience is there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the biggest genres right now. And it's like kind of carrying the book industry on its back, low key. So yeah, I mean it's not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised either. I mean, I'm not surprised that Repub looked at their surveys and saw that most of their attendees were interested in romantic, I mean, dark fantasy, also, I think a bit. And they said, hey, let's build a show about romance.
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, Kate, I would say that like the thing that happened since 2020 and COVID is that book talk is more
Yeah.
and more of a thing, right?
Right. So
Eh,
so people who maybe like science fiction fans have always been very online. Fantasy fans have always been very online. But people who were like just like general book readers who weren't so much fandom
Right.
people
Well,
didn't really, as the sci-fi fantasy SF fandom, right? People who weren't in SF fandom didn't have as big of a presence online, like of just like huge viral social media communication with each other. And Book Talk really got all those people who loved books and loved talking about books in great detail and weren't necessarily coming at it from a literary criticism angle, but were coming at it from a I love books angle, a place to like pump up their favorite books and make them viral and talk to each other. And then they can pump up the convention and make it viral too.
yeah. I mean, Trayvon, you do PWs, you do stuff on TikTok for us, right?
Yeah, yeah. I do the occasional video trying to put Publishers Weekly in the same space as these
Mhm.
as where the conversations are being had. meeting the audience where they're at. And yeah, I mean, I think that like definitely fantasy, like romantasy and romance are also have a big space in the TikTok influencer sphere as well. It's
Yeah, yeah. And apparently that they had, ginned up BookCon also. And then and then Repop very cleverly announced Rachel Reed was going to be there after the heated rivalry phenomenon began. So
yeah.
that, and it was already sold out. So people were going nuts about that. And so, yeah, things were at a heated pitch when they all got there. So I think what's really interesting though is like, was this a success? Like there were so many complaints about the crowding, and like I said, first timers. But then there was also the ARC situation, which I didn't see. But Trey, you saw it, the 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 chaos, the confrontation in person.
I didn't witness it myself, but I did hear from multiple people how crazy it was. I heard whisper that there was a physical altercation over some arcs at some point, and it was just like, I mean, people just going crazy over something that they probably don't need to go so feral over. And I don't
Well,
know.
advanced reader copies are frequently stuff that is not available yet. So, can you
Yeah.
imagine a free copy of something nobody else has, and you're the kind of person who pays for a ticket to BookCon?
I mean, I
Yeah.
I'm
kind
not
of get it, but
surprised.
people were selling them on eBay also.
No, of
So
course.
yeah. But I mean, I think the arcs were a holdover from when BookCon was a part of the Book Expo. And yeah, publishers drop preview arcs. And um, I
Well,
mean,
they still do that at science fiction conventions sometimes, and at New York Comic Con. They'll have a limited quantity of arcs, and they'll give them out as prizes. They'll have it like if you come by the table at a certain time, or we'll raffle them off. Like it's a thing that's still going on even in like fan spaces. It's just I don't think like at a science fiction convention or a fantasy convention or a comic book convention, usually the number of people who are like, I want this printed book, I must have it right now, are a subset.
mm,
Whereas this is an entire convention full of everybody who's like, no, I want that printed book. I want it right now.
yeah, and I just, I mean, I got caught on Sunday because I went back both days because me, I'm fascinated by these events, and so I went back Sunday, and I got kind of caught in a little bit of a scrum, and then I just dodged, and because as I wrote in my report, I'm like, this was nothing I had shoved my way through dozens of times. But I could see how if it was your first time, and I mean, the thing that really got me was on like Facebook, so which suddenly started showing me these BookCon threads, and there were so many posts that, and I saw them on Reddit too, which is like, I've never been to New York before. Is it safe to walk on 34th Street? And is it safe to take the bus? And which I am sympathetic. I mean, anytime you go someplace new when you haven't traveled a lot, you could have anxiety about it. But I mean, I would jump in and be like, it's very, very safe. Don't worry. Can I walk at night? Like, yes, you can walk at night. So I think there was just I think there was a lot of very new people who were there, and they they were not shy about expressing themselves on social media. But I do think threads has become, like Tumblr meets TikTok meets Twitter, and which I of course enjoy for some things, but it's pretty overblown. I thought it wasn't as bad as they were
Well,
saying.
Yeah.
remember, a lot of the book talk kids are people who are intentionally there because they're kind of introverted. This is like they're book
Um,
people who are usually at home or in their local bookstores. Like they made an effort to get out of themselves and come all the way to the big city, and suddenly they've got 8 million people and they don't know what to do with it. And I get that.
No, there were a few missteps, but I don't think it was as bad as it seemed online. Um, But as far as notable missteps go, aside from the crowds, I think one thing that BookCon should be aware of is probably their ADA lines. They
Mm.
were very poorly labeled to the point that a lot of people that needed them did not know that they were available.
That's not
I
good.
saw that, yeah, I saw that a few times. And then just lines generally being mismanaged. I think it's a good idea to have staffers who can manage the lines at every line, or at least the
You
ones
need
that
it.
have a lot of
Yeah,
traffic.
100%, 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
I spent an hour in a line and half, maybe more than an hour, and half of that time was people trying to figure out where the line started and which line they were actually in once they were standing in that line. And
Very
the whole,
important.
yeah, the whole time I'm like, I think we're in the Aiden Thomas line. Everyone else is like, I think we're in the Aiden Thomas line. We did not know for sure until we moved further up.
I mean, you got to take a a cue from like Trader Joe's and have like a little sign that the person at the end of the line holds. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Well, I would say even New York Comic Con, which again, Trey, you were at New York Comic Con,
Mhm.
and which is, like there was only 25,000 people at BookCon. It wasn't that many people. There's like
But only
250.
25,000. Hey, that's big.
Yeah, yeah, but there's 250,000 people. There's 10 times as many people at New York Comic Con. I mean, yes, we complain about the crowds. Yes, we don't like the crowds.
And they are spread
But
out over
but
4 days.
they do have the lines. They totally have the lines more, they have learned the hard way. They didn't always have the lines at New York Comic Con under control, but they have learned that
You need to.
they have to. And so I guess that's what gets me the most. It's like, Reed Pop, you put on New York Comic Con, you put on Star Wars Celebration, you put on um
And New York Comic Con is held
PAX.
in this same building.
It's
It's
held in the
held
same
in this
bill.
building. You know how to
You
do lines in this
held
building.
a lot of events at the Javits Center, and you know what happens. And yet you were like, oh, there's lines. So I think I think this is the guess. This is me just projecting my own psychological evaluation. I think maybe they might have thought, oh, Comic Con. It's all those comics fans, video game fans, and movie fans. They are unruly, but so we got to keep them in line. But book readers, they're so nice, and they're so they're they're smart, and they know where to go. And well, that was not what happened.
Mm-mm. They should have learned from some of the crowd control problems some of the small romanticy cons had. Well,
Yes,
at least this one doesn't seem to have the history of groping that those did. So points to
yes,
them, points
I
to
did
them.
not. Yes,
But
there was no
still,
groping.
like
So
book crowds can get very rowdy, you guys.
yeah, and I yeah, they needed to figure that they were not they made a misapprehension about about who was going to come. And but there was a or how
How excited they would
passionate,
get. Yeah.
how excited they would get. Now that said, I do want to say, as I got there, and I did get into the heated rivalry panel because I had special pass to go to it, and I'm very lucky, very fortunate, and I was very interested to go. And there was a big crowd. There had been some of them have been lined since before the dawn. And I will say, everyone that I talked to or contacted was very polite, very considerate, very. There was a lot of that community that you see, and people looking out for each other and helping. It wasn't all pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear. No, so Trayvon, you are also an author, and why don't you plug your books while we got you on here? So,
Yeah. So in terms of fantasy, my first fantasy is the Aziza Chronicles Awakening, put out by Deep Hearts YA. And it is a Afrocentric fantasy about a young girl who discovers that the father she never knew belongs to this race of like mythological African warriors. And she has to use her newfound powers to thwart an incoming apocalypse.
all right.
Yeah. And then
Sounds
my yeah, thank you. My most recent fantasy is New Adult, came out 7.5 months ago. And it is about a young trans woman of color who discovers that she's an Amazon of Greek mythology, and there is a demented demigod trying to
So
wipe
what's
out
the title
all.
of it?
Oh, Bryn's Virtues. Bryn's Virtues Courage. Thank you.
yes, yes. And
Um,
who's the publisher?
that is Dreamsphere, which
Hmm,
is they're both Dreamsphere and Deep Hearts YA are imprints of the same
okay.
story.
Okay, cool. So I guess I wanted to ask you, it's kind of an emerging author and also fantasy. There was also like an artist alley for writers. I don't know what you call it, writers row, I
I think
guess
they were
that's it.
calling it Indie Alley at BookCon.
I
Yeah.
like that they stuck with alley. Writers row would be my pick. Okay, I just came up with it. Uh, did you walk through there? Did you
Oh,
check that out?
absolutely. I feel like most of my day at BookCon was walking through Indie Alley and then walking through the big publisher show floor. So just want to make sure I saw everything. And it was yeah, it was very cool to see. And just seeing it was a lot of like artists who make like either bookish things or fantasy things, and there's a lot of small publishers and just like authors who were like genuinely doing the face-to-face interactions. It was very cool to see.
Yeah. Now, so I guess, my other question for you is just, as an author, do you think this was a good showcase? Like, would you consider setting up there? Would it be someplace you think that,
Oh,
it's good for discoverability?
absolutely. I feel like it would be a big undertaking. You just have to be kind of like
Mm,
kind of like a like put on your used car salesman hat, just like push yourself for 8 hours straight. But I think it is a good place because there are a lot of people that are genuinely walking around looking for their next read, or when they see something that interests them, they will stop and you will have a chance to sell or find a new reader or find a new fan. But
mm,
I would totally do a con for sure.
hmm. Okay. Well, BookCon is coming back next year. Let's see if they learn those lessons. So there was a kind of some interesting offshoots of BookCon. There were some controversies that again spread like wildfire on TikTok and Threads. And and both of them, I boy, I have a lot of mixed feelings about both of them. So one of them was about the author, um, Tracy Dion, right? And so Trey, I know you watched it. Can you want to tell us what happened with this?
Yes, so the original video had been taken down by time I hit the TikTok sphere of the discourse, but there were a lot of reposts. And from what I can tell, a fan in line for her signing, instead of having the book, she just had like a piece of paper, like blank paper. And she took up the paper, presented it to her, and started talking to her about how much her books impacted her as a fan. And then um, Tracy Dion interrupted to ask where she should sign the paper. And I should also preface this by saying Tracy Dion was not necessarily smiling and greeting fans at this point. Um, she was likely tired or overwhelmed or just like not very giddy. And
Hmm.
fans were one expecting her to perform for them in a sense. And then when she was confused with this piece of paper and asked the fan where she needed to sign, people saw that
And
as
she
a
didn't say, I don't want to sign it. She said,
no.
where do I sign it?
Yes, and people thought that was a rude interruption for some reason. So yeah, the people have been on fire talking about how they need to like boycott her books, take her off their TBRs, stop reading her immediately, just for basically not smiling at a convention. And it is it's vicious.
Oy, 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 oy. Yeah, I mean, I saw
Talk
it
about
and
people
was
who are new to conventions.
Yeah.
right. And I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it is, it did look like I mean, from what I see, it was towards the end of the signing. right? And it's you get into, I mean, Kate and I do our convention reports all the time, and it's just, you get into a few states,
Yeah.
and like it's just, I mean, that's not, I mean, I understand why she felt bad, and like meeting your I've said this on this podcast, everywhere. This is one of Heidi's aphorisms. I just put it on the wall, like this is number 12. But when you meet your favorite author, that is one of the greatest moments you can have, right? Like truly, truly powerful. I mean, you said you stood in line for an hour
Yeah.
for who was
Aiden
it?
Thomas.
Sorry, Aiden Thomas, right? And was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. We had, first of all, he stayed late to make sure he can sign as many signatures as he could. Very sweet. And we had, even though it was a long line, you can tell he was trying to like have meaningful chit chat and like make sure people were like getting the experience. It was very nice. He was even doing pictures, even though the person that was monitoring the line at that time was like, there's not going to be any pictures. He was very sweet. Yeah. And it was a big deal. Cemetery Boys, which was the novel of his that I read, was one of my favorites, and he got to sign it, and now I have that
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's worth it. It's really worth it. And
Yeah. But
and
part of why I say like they must be new to conventions is like sometimes the author is trying to keep in mind the other people in the line
Yeah.
because you have so many people been waiting for so long and you're trying to sign everybody's books and you're trying to say hello to everybody. And if you may feel like I can't, okay, that's great, but like I need to get to the next person. Like you've had your turn. And I can understand that that's not pleasant for the person who's experiencing it, but at the same time, I can see an author being like looking at the rest of the line, being like, "Hey, I got to get out of here for the next person to sign. Like, I want to make sure all my people get signatures. Like, come on, man."
And then just the fact that you've also seen 100, if not more, people right before that, and you like that amount of social interaction can be draining. And
yeah,
like it's not like actors who are like trained to like put on a face. Authors can tend to be very singular and can probably be drained by social interaction even faster than other people.
Right. And I mean, honestly, I've had a couple things signed by actors at conventions where they didn't charge for it. And the actors looked like drained. Like,
Exactly.
and you can't blame them. It's a
No.
lot.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, when I met Casper Van Dien, Starship Troopers, my all-time favorite movie, they made me buy a he made me buy a photo. I'll never forget. I'm using that. I'm not saying it anyway. He is Casper Van Dien, though. So, listen, I hear both. I absolutely hear both sides of it. But guess what? As a fan, you need to be mindful of your own. And it goes both ways. It is a transaction, and I'm just going to be fake booking of a. Oh, really weird, but I'm already planning San Diego Comic Con, and we're doing a media room where we're going to do video interviews, and I already know it's kind of likely that one of my big heroes is going to be there that I've never met,
Exciting.
and I'm already beginning to think about that. Like, like he doesn't. Okay, and he doesn't know who I am, right? Like, if I meet anyone in comics, maybe they know who I am, or we know people in common. So it's not. It's no big. It's kind of. I know I sound blasé, but
It's
and I'm
different.
just like, right. And it's just like when you meet somebody who means so much to you, it's hard not to gush and be that it's like they've heard it a million times before,
Yeah.
right? It's not like you're telling them something they have never heard before, and but you have to express it at the same time. So it's kind of a little hard. I mean, maybe 90% of the time it goes really great and it's wonderful, right? And everybody walks away happy. And I mean, that's certainly authors, celebrities, people love hearing that their work has meaning. But if you've heard it, like there's some
Well,
jokes they
and
hear
not
over
just
and over,
that.
they're sick of it.
I mean, I think when you've got a really long line of people, it's different.
Yes, 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 yes.
And one thing
Um,
Oh, what were
that
you?
one
Oh,
thing that really
go.
gets me with the Tracy Dion situation is that this is a woman of color. And I think people of color, especially women of color, are kind of held to a higher standard when it comes to a lot of things. And also, their emotions are misread as negative when they
Mm,
are just neutral or passionate. So I think it is, and it's just like wanting to cancel her specifically over not smiling when there are so many other white authors who have done such worse,
Yeah.
shout out J.K. Rowling, who are not being canceled. It's
mm,
it's very clear and disheartening what is happening here, whether people are aware of
yeah,
it or not. Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely part of it. And I mean, canceling someone over this, please. You know what? Look, I swore I wouldn't use this word, but there's just so much entitlement in some of these attitudes. And you know what? There's another controversy that's spun out of BookCon, and this is even like, this is so bizarre. Veronica Roth, the author of the Divergent series, a very popular YA series from back in that whole, Hunger Games, Twilight era when YA took over, right? Made a movie out of it. They never got to make the fourth movie. It's a little sad. But anyway, she's earned her stripes. She's paid her dues. And she gets up on a panel and announces that she's doing a new Divergent novel. Yay, right? And it's kind of like a alternate universe Divergent novel set in a different timeline. So she's kind of revisiting it from a different way. And I mean, I've never read Divergent, but sounds good to me. The author
You'd think the
is doing
fans
a
would
new.
like it.
I think the fans would like it, wouldn't you? But no. Well, and again, this is a segment of the
Right.
fandom, but
Loud, annoying segment.
I mean, I guess I'm just kind of fascinated by how things come out on threads because it is like this town square where people are giving a lot of information, but they're like, oh well, what a cash grab. She's doing a new book. What a cash grab. Like, yeah, you just, soaking her fans by putting out a new book. I mean, have you heard of Oz? I mean, I don't understand. I don't even know what to make of this one, honestly.
Maybe they feel like because it's retreading old territory or something, but come on. Lots of
I mean,
authors write in their pre-existing universe and nobody gives them any garbage about it. Like, what's this?
yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It is. I think that is what it hinders on the fact that it's an AU, and it's not uncommon for authors to revisit their work, but usually when they do it, it's from the perspective of somebody else, or it's like an untold story that was happening at the same time. It's very rare for an author to write an AU of their work, and I think that might be what is giving people pause. Um,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, it is unusual take on
yeah,
how you're going to go back into the old territory, but the
I think she's
response
allowed
seems a
to. Yeah.
little,
Yeah, it's a interesting. And I also haven't read Divergent, but from what I understand, the history she's changing naturally is the setup for the series, which basically the faction the character chooses. And I think a lot of readers disagreed with that character's choice to begin with. So you'd think they would be happy that she's writing a story where she makes a different choice. But apparently
Oh,
the fans cannot be satisfied.
so it's like brand new day, basically. It's like, oh, we're gonna make that story never happen, and they're still mad. Geez, Louise. I
we're
mean,
going to say what would have happened. What if it happened a diffent way, right? It's not
Yeah.
deleting the other one. We're not saying this
No,
never happened. We're just saying, what if?
you,
exactly.
you know, I oh boy, there's a lot to unpack here, and a lot of it is again beyond like my experience. I don't even get AU. Okay, it's another thing I don't
It's like
get.
Elseworlds. It's Elseworlds. That's what it
I
is.
understand that, and I'm saying I read What If when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's that.
that's my AU. But after reading one issue of What If from Marvel Comics, which is like, what if Uncle Ben didn't die? And then you find out, oh, even worse. would have happened. Like, thank God Uncle Ben died, because if he hadn't, the whole universe would have died. And literally every what if story, it's like the Twilight Zone. It's like, oh, if that had happened, it would have been even worse. There's no
Well,
getting
that's
around it.
that's the Marvel approach, whereas the DC approach of Elseworlds is like, what if Batman was a samurai? And
What
the
if
answer
Batman
is
wore a kilt? That's my
right,
favorite.
and the answer is usually another Batman adventure.
Yeah.
Yay!
But he's in a kilt. He's
Yeah,
got a kilt.
what if? What if Batman was a Puritan? Whatever. It's
Right. So, but yeah, Marvel was absolutely like sticking it to you. And um so yeah, I don't even know how to unpack this one. Well, anyway, yeah, like book fans are not the calm, unemotional, never dramatic fans. But we've proven that. And unfortunately, Kate, there was another incident, right? That this one with the mangaka. What was
right.
this now?
So Hyundai, the pseudonymous author of Go For It Nakamura-kan, which is a manga series and now an anime about a teenage boy falling in love with another teenage boy, his classmate. Like, it's important that you understand that's the premise. This is the actual romantic couple in the book and on screen. There is apparently a dream sequence that the author wrote where one of the boys has a crush on his male teacher. And he's like, oh, what if I kissed the teacher? And it's like a dream sequence, and clearly never going to happen. The teacher would never do such a thing. Apparently, fans got really mad about this when she originally drew it and posted things to her on X, such as her quote about it is, I just get complaints about why the hell I draw something like this. And I don't have the ability to create something that makes everyone happy as they're expected. So there's no point in being manga anymore, is there? And then she went off social media because she knew the episode with that dream sequence was coming up, even though everyone says like, hey, she specifically told the animators, hey, tone it down. I know people are sensitive about this. Like, it's just a dream sequence. Don't, make it too pervy. Even so, like, people being so mad about it's true. There are plenty of boys love manga where there are adults having relationships with underage boys, and that's not great, right? I get why some people might not like that, but to go after an author for like very personally for one scene that's a dream sequence to the point where she had to delete her social media seems pretty hardcore.
Mean, maybe it's just that I'm of a certain age where I saw Van Halen's Hot for Teacher video. I've heard that some real people in life have had crushes on their teachers. And maybe it's not the right thing. And of course, the teacher should never, ever, ever act on it. But isn't that sort of kind of part of life?
Yeah, that is not an uncommon experience for a teenager to have. Um, and for a writer to portray that, I don't think is necessarily bad. And it's not like she portrayed the teacher reciprocating or acting on it. She was portraying a high school crush, which is like,
What kind of part of life? I don't know. Again, I don't go by me. I'm a boomer. I don't know. I don't
I
know
think
what.
some people uh, think that if you include problematic material, it means that you're co-signing the problematic material. But that's not at all the case sometimes. Sometimes you're just saying, these things happen, or sometimes you're even saying these things are bad. And in order to say that in my media, I have to portray it in my media.
Yeah.
And some people just don't
Yeah.
understand.
She released a statement saying, considering the recent increase in horrific crimes committed by adults against minors, the author will not use this as a theme in the future.
Horrific crimes against
Well,
minors?
I mean, I will say that there have been
Yes, it's true.
there's a a history of sexualization
Mm,
of minors being normalized
mm,
to a certain degree in Japanese pop culture, and there's been some pushback against that in Japan, which is
mm.
understandable. What with all the like creepy adults who are very into schoolgirls and schoolboys. So
Right.
I get why some people might be oversensitive, but it does seem oversensitive given that it's a dream sequence about teenagers acting appropriately. I
Well,
feel bad for the author, and I hope she does well.
we're living in a hellscape. Let's just move on. That's yeah, it's very unfortunate that she felt compelled to use social media. While back in the real world, which somehow seems safer and more companionable and fun than the online world. There was a couple of shows here in New York. We had book. There was we had BIX the same weekend. I want to say I'm a hero. I got on. I went from the Javits Center to Industry City, all the way in Brooklyn. That is 6 miles as the crow flies. In New York, that is a very long journey. And but I took the subway and it did not take long. But some BIX is the Brooklyn Independent Comics showcase and held in Industry City, which is a big giant kind of warehousey factory type building. And they had about 400 exhibitors. Um, I will say I don't have too much to say about this. I read a piece of the Beat by the exhibitor Fabrice Sapolsky, who runs Fair Square Graphics, and I felt like this was a great show for very new creators. Like there were some more experienced creators who were there, and they were very mad because, or not mad, but they were disappointed they didn't sell more books. Now I was talking at SVA this week, and there was a class, and one of the kids in the class who's a senior, so he's graduating and he's very talented. And he said he went to Bix and he sold 35 copies, and everyone was like, "Yay, that's fantastic!" And if you were a publisher who sold 35 copies, you might feel disappointed in that number, right? But if you're an up and coming SVA grad, maybe that's a great number. So anyway, I think really an awesome event, and also Industry City is so full of amazing like food and snacks and boba tea, everything. It's such a great place to go.
Go to
Um,
Daiso.
I tried. I could never find it. I could
It's
never find.
upstairs.
I know, but I can't find it. So
It's above
that
the
was
Japanese market.
Kate. I stood and I looked at the map, and I guess I was distracted. Anyway, next time you come with, then we'll go together.
I
How's
will be
that?
happy. I have been there many
Let's do it.
times.
Let's go. All right, that's a date. Let's do it. Okay. But yes, Bix. I thought it was I think it's a really worthwhile event. I think they just need to kind of focus, like express what the focus of it is. And then there was the Comic Arts Fest at Alliance, New York. And this is a kind of French, it's a nonprofit organization to foster the promotion of French culture here in New York and also French cheese. So that's awesome because they had a little opening night party that had lots of cheese. So that's why I went. But one of the great French exports is cheese. Okay, fromage. That's the only French word I know. Um, anyway, this was headlined by Charles Burns and Frank Whiteley, and two of the greatest living cartoonists, I think. That's pretty honest. And so this was, again, I have a write up on the Beat. It's kind of a small show. I missed Frank Whiteley's talk, which I heard was really fantastic, and I love his work so much. But Charles Burns, who's the author of Black Hole and a lot of other things, he's kind of an interesting example, I think, of the things we're talking about because he definitely his work concentrates on horror. There's a lot of toxic relationships in his work, and he talked on his talk about how a lot of it is just based on like 50s romance comics, which are so bland and kind of anodyne. And he kind of redraws them and makes them more horrific and more, I mean, he's just, I don't know, he makes them better. But I don't
But
know, he's a
why
great
that's the source
cartoonist.
material is interesting.
Yes, exactly. And so Anyway, that was now this event. I will be honest. I moderated a panel there with two amazing cartoonists, Julie Rochelieu. Hope I pronounced that right. She tried to tell me, and Elaine Uzdin. They both have new books out that are absolutely amazing. They're incredible artists. I got to moderate a panel with them. That was fascinating. And so it is quite pricey to go to this festival because like individual panels are can be like $20 for members and more if you're not a member. But you do get cheese if you buy the festival pass. Okay. And so that is, it's a big thing for me, again, the fromage. But I thought this was a really interesting. I got more out of the panels at this show than I normally do, and I go to hundreds of panels. So to me, it was a little bit of a level up, and definitely really enjoyed that. So let's see, what else do we have here? Well, Katakawa
Yes.
is on the rampage. Kate, what is the coming of Katakawa?
So
Have you been following
Katakawa
this?
has been sneaking into the, well, I mean, I actually seen one of their storefronts, but I hadn't realized it was them because I think they've been very careful to try to brand it in the most like American friendly way possible. Um, Woman, I want to get my details right here. Sorry.
Well, while you're looking for that, I will say that Katakawa it's the parent company of Yen Press, right?
Is it? I can't remember which major
Well, I
Japanese
think
publisher
they
is
are.
the parent of Yan
I
Press.
think they are because I saw a little chart and it said that Kurt Hassler, who is the editorial director of Yen Press, is going to be involved in this. And Kurt Hassler, of course, worked at Borders before he worked at Yen Press. And I understand that Jim Killen, who worked at Barnes and Noble, is also part of this. And in fact, I think he was the manager of this pop up that you went, or not pop up. It's an actual storefront, right,
Yeah,
Kate?
yeah, they're storefronts. They're little mall storefronts about the size of the old um, Walden Books, and they're hoping to be the biggest comics retailer in the United States. Um, their their little thing, it says Manga Spot, and then it looks a little bit like those little like indie stores that pop up at malls occasionally, created by a hobbyist, only actually they're created by Katakawa. Um, Manga Spot has 10 chains right now. I mean, 10 chain stores right now. And they are planning to like go full steam ahead. They said we put a test run out with these 10 stores. They're doing great. And
Do they only sell manga though, right?
they sell manga, they sell light novels, uh, and they seem to be interested. Let's see, what is it? They're saying things like pictures from it seem to show American comics as well. Uh, they are claiming, what is it? They plan to
Wow.
accelerate the expansion of its store network in North America in earnest to maximize group synergies, whatever that means.
Okay, let's synergize.
Yeah, no, yeah, they definitely are carrying Western comics at least at the moment. Even if they're sort of your usual Western comic stores, Western comics first, then some manga. They're manga first, and then some Western comics.
Well, I've heard that. I mean, I've noticed that there's so many like pop-ups or stores here in New York. Obviously, it's very cosmopolitan here. We get most of this stuff first. I mean, there's a webtoon store actually in Times Square. There's Square Enix apparently which also publishes manga. That's known as a video game company, but they are also bringing some stores. And of course, there's Kinokuniya, the long-running bookstore, Japanese bookstore, and even Book Off, which is the Japanese chain. There's only two here in New York, but it looks like we're getting some retail stores here that sell a lot of manga.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, given that they tend to be, right now, Manga Spot tends to be a sort of mall-based venture. I think it's going to be expanding into communities that maybe don't have like a Koreatown, a Japantown, um, places that maybe could use a place selling manga.
Mm, yeah. Trevor, are you into manga at all, or are you?
I am into anime a
Mm,
little bit, but I have not read too much manga myself.
yeah. Yeah. Well, once you get sucked in, that's the problem. It's addictive, and there's so much of it, which is why they're gonna have all these stores selling it. Well, this is huge. I mean, this could be a huge thing if these stores do. I mean, if they sell Western comics, that would be incredible. But our manga audience is going to be interested in Western comics.
I think in trades, I think they won't want floppies. That's my
Well, they
guess.
might like Absolute Line, but I'll say this. I was standing at there was only two comics publishers at BookCon. I was standing there was Yen Press. They're very, very forward in that. And then there was IDW. And I was standing at the IDW booth, and someone comes up and says, do you have any manga? And they say no, but Young Press is here. And then this reader, see, because Trey, this was one of the other criticisms. Like some people are like, "There's nothing but romance here. I'd like something other kinds of books." And um, I think that half there had been, I like Young Press looked like they were, always had a crowd at the booth. I think that if IEW had brought different kinds of maybe, more Godzilla and less, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, maybe I don't, I mean, I think you got to market differently to different audiences.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I think also this being a first year, they're just getting an idea of who the audience is.
Well, it wasn't the first year, is the thing. It was the seventh book con, but it was the
No,
first
but it
year.
hasn't been,
Yeah,
it's like it's
yeah.
new again because it's been so many years since they had it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to keep a close eye on the Kanakawa, especially as I said, says Jim Killen, who was a legend at Barnes and Noble as the science fiction and comics buyer, is heavily involved with this. So he definitely knows what he's doing. Well, speaking of heavy, wait, what is our time? We're gonna have to. What's our time on this? Where are
Currently
we
I'm
at?
at 38 minutes and I started about 5 minutes in. So we're currently at like 45 minutes. So we have about 15.
Okay, okay. So we have about 50 minutes. Okay. Well, sorry for listeners. Um, but I don't have a timer on this. So, okay, another thing that you might have been hearing a lot about recently is AI, and of course, there's all sorts of things. And like it's so great. I just saw the guys at WWE being, yeah, we've got to use more AI. Um,
What would you even need AI for wrestling at all?
and also, by the way, they did not sell out WrestleMania, so maybe AI isn't that great. Well, I don't know. I just saw that headline and I'm like, all right, I've seen everything now. Kate, there was Webtoon. It's got some AI stuff coming. What are they doing?
Yes. So now we all know that people are unthrilled about the idea of AI translation or AI art or AI backgrounds. And but funders, they like the AI. They like the AI. So Webtoon has announced that they are adding to their app AI avatars. Now you might say, is this just AI art that you like use as your avatar online where it's your icon? No, 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 no. What it is that their concept using the AI avatar platform Genies is that people will use their AI to create like basically chatbots of the different webtoon characters. So, do you like this webtoon? Would you like to chat with the characters? You can do that in our webtoon platform also. It's
So you can
who
have your
asked for this?
avatar and it can talk to.
Yeah, use like it's an avatar of the comic. So it's not an avatar of you, it's an
Got it.
avatar of the
I
comic.
got
So
it.
you are chatting with an avatar of the comic. And so they'd have like one of their protagonists or love interests be like, "Hi, I am definitely the Grand Duke of the North. How are you doing today?" And then you'd be like, "Should I invade the South?" Or should I romance your girlfriend? I don't
Should I write a new Divergent novel?
know. This is very much who asked for this, but Webtoon, having been burned before by people being like, "We hate AI," in their announcement is very, very, very careful to say this feature is fully opt-in. You don't need to chat to the avatars. It's only for people who want it. It sort of has a subtext of "Don't kill us. Will you let us at least do this AI thing?"
I I don't get this at all. I don't know, whatever. I mean,
I will
there's
say
all
there are
mm,
people who
yes.
will use AI like as a joke to like chat with their favorite media characters. Like I a friend of mine as a joke like has talked to an AI Thomas the Tank Engine character. I don't know why she'd want to do that, but sometimes people think it's fun. And I
I
guess they're trying to monetize this for the original creators, but it's kind of a very niche thing and not that popular.
Yeah. I think there are some people out there who would earnestly like the opportunity to chat with their favorite characters, sure. And I will say what this does have a feature where the avatar changes the more you read the story. So the further you get in the plot, the avatar updates its like knowledge and interactions, and that itself is kind of cool. But also, this is something that you could have paid writers and artists to do instead of getting AI to do it. And I think people would have been a lot happier about it. Yeah, it just seems like a big misstep to me.
I feel like I see everybody always saying like, "Oh my God, we've got to use AI." It's, it's everybody else is using AI, so we've got to use AI. And it's just like, everybody else is eating bananas, so we got to eat bananas. It's like, so what? I mean, I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, it does code, it does this, does that. I mean, I know, yes, it's good at analyzing, numbers and putting them all together. I do get that, but it's also, so what? Like some of this stuff is like I could do it myself. I mean, I mean, I'm an old fuddy duddy on this. I know AI is coming. I love it for like if I have a table, I put it right into Chat GPT and I get a beautiful table. And I love that. Okay. It's awesome. And I like it for things like that. But I just like all of this, it's like supply and desire, right? It's like, I don't see how it actually, nobody asked for this.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it'll be very resource intensive, and I don't know how popular it will be. But as far as like AI things you could put in your app that would offend me the least, like a chat bot of the characters seems harmless and stupid,
Hmm.
but fine, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like they were doing other things with the AI. Well, just before we get to some briefs here, I do want to note that it really was a really bad week for comics. We lost a lot of some pretty amazing people. Frank Stack, the underground cartoon, he goes back all the way. Probably best known for Our Cancer Year, the Harvey Pekar memoir. And he was in his 80s, so he had lived a full life. But yes, he passed away. Then Jerry Conway, and who is really one of the titans of Marvel and DC. He created Firestorm. He created Power Girl. He created the Punisher. Like this guy was amazing. He had an amazing track record. And interestingly, he kind of left the comics industry. Like a lot of people try to leave the comics industry and didn't get too far. But Jerry Conway was like, I'm going to go to Hollywood and work in TV. And, he had like a producer on Law and Order. I mean, he had a very successful TV career after that. And then came back to comics. And he was really just a very decent stand up guy. I haven't heard one bad word about him. And best known work He wrote the Spider-Man comics where Gwen Stacy died. So really a giant of the medium. And so he has passed away after a battle with cancer. And then Len Straczynski, who is probably best known. He wrote some DC comics also for the Malibu universe. He created some of those characters and definitely created some memorable characters like Prime. And he has also lost his battle. So, go to those people when they're at the con and don't just put a piece of paper on them. Like, but seriously, we have so many people that we are losing. So when you have a chance, yeah, after all we've said, go say hi and just say you get an autograph because they're not going to be around forever. So Kate, what do we got for some briefs here?
So, for some briefs, I will start with a lighter one. Um, so Netflix has announced a new anime, um, The Ribbon Hero, and people might go, okay, who cares? But it's actually an adaptation of Osamu Tezuka's Princess Knight, this beloved classic, one of the very first shoujo about Sapphire, a princess who disguises herself as a princess, as a prince and a knight to rule her kingdom and do heroic things. And it's very gendery. There's a lot of gender stuff going on. And so you can imagine it was very popular with a generation of young girls and led to, it was one of the ancestors of Rosa Versailles. It was one of the ancestors of, like, a lot of shoujo, often of a gender bending nature. Um, and so it's being sort of reimagined with like more modern art as the Ribbon Hero from the animator Yuki Igarashi. It'll be a feature film. It's coming this August. Always great to see a Tezuka adaptation. Very interested to see where they're going with this one. But yeah, you really can't beat the original title. The Ribbon Hero really doesn't tell you anything. Maybe
Why
it's
did they
better in
call?
Japanese.
Oh, I have to touch that one.
Um, the next brief. Well, let's get into the less fun briefs next. Layoffs. So, those of you who have been reading comics news for a while remember Newsarama, the big comics news outlet that slowly sort of shrank over time. It is sort of quietly closing the door by laying off its final full-time writer. They had gone from a staff of 3 with many freelancers down to one writer and freelancers, down to one writer, and now they are closing. And let's see, I want to make sure I get the name right.
George Marston was the last writer there. So
Yeah, George Marston
yeah,
is the
he was
last
the
staff writer at Newsarama.
man.
And he was with them for decades.
Yeah, they just say them, and they were really on Instagram saying that they love writing about comics, and they're gonna keep doing it somewhere that will let them. And just I mean, Newsarama. I'll jump in here. Just say Newsarama was founded by Matt Brady and Mike Doran, and back in the 90s. And when I was doing the Pulse, we had a fierce rivalry. We had a heated rivalry. Let me tell you, we were competing for scoops, and we had fights. Like, we literally had fights about this and recriminations and people caught in the crossfire. And that's how competitive it was. But they were really great. And when I could beat them on a scoop, I really knew I'd done my job well. And yeah, but just, they kind of invented online comics journalism along with CBR. And I don't know if that Newsarama is really gone, because it seems like it still has a logo on the Games Radar site, but
That might
it's
just be
not.
the old stuff or
I mean,
cross tagging on anything
yeah.
comics related.
I mean, I think Chris Aaron, who wrote a lot about this week, who was on staff at Newsarama for almost 20 years. Like, he's kind of the one who's written the obituary for it. And you know,
I think you can say at least this is no
yeah,
longer an independent publication, right? It used to
no,
be
oh no,
its own,
no.
at least imprint of this
Or
larger
vertical. It used to
website
be its own
vertical,
little web vertical on the website. Yeah, but it's
and
not
it's
anymore.
it's not.
No. And
It's
there, well,
just a
there's no
zombie
comics
brand.
coverage. There's no comics coverage. So, you know, yeah, this podcast is it. Yeah.
And as well as layoffs are also going to be have also happened at Mad Cave, the indie publisher. So they are laying off senior editor James Emmett, senior editor Chaz Pangburn, um, senior marketing manager Maya V, and there have been two others who have not disclosed their names who have also been laid off by Mad Cave, which is a small publisher with not a very big staff to begin with. And there had been more layoffs this past December.
Yeah. So it's just some retrenching going on there. I think that's the log line there. So we'll see. You know, they do still have some very good editors on staff, including Mike Martz. So yeah, more to come there.
And now we will end on a cookie on something fun and light. So listeners, you might be like me. You might have seen coverage of the art of manga exhibit, the huge art of manga exhibit in San Francisco, and gone, I'm not in San Francisco. I guess I'm never going to see it. Woe is me. It has over 600 pieces of original manga art from across the history of manga. And it is now coming to the East Coast to the Brooklyn Museum.
Yay, us.
Yay.
Yay, New York. Yay, Brooklyn.
Yay! It will be there October 3rd, 2026 through January 31st, 2027. Come on in. It includes art from Inuyasha, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Uku, The Inner Chambers, One Piece, many, many more across the history of manga. And I'm looking forward to it. It is the biggest manga exhibit, literally, that has ever been in the United States.
I'm excited about it. And our own beat friend of the podcast, Dan Mayoki, was a consultant on this show. And I know she helped to get some of the stuff. So even better. Trey, you live in Brooklyn, right?
I do, and I
Do
will
you
be
go
checking
to
this out
do
when
you,
it
do you
pops
go to
up.
the museum? Have you been to the museum there? You
I
must
have
have.
not been to that museum, so this will be a good
Oh,
excuse to.
I actually go because like I have some friends who live near there and they're always like, let's go to the Brooklyn Museum. And it really is a delight. Once you go once, you're going to keep going because it's a really, really strong um, exhibits and just collection. Just it's fun too. It's right in the park. And yeah, I'm excited. Maybe there'll be a cool opening. That's me. I'm always like, is there an opening I can see my friends? That's what I like.
Can I get an invitation? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, yes, that's it. Where's our invitation? I'll end on one more fun note that this weekend, as you hear this, so that Saturday, the 2nd of May, is going to be Free Comic Book Day, also Comics Giveaway Day. We have two giveaway days but all free. And this is the National Comic Book Holiday. You go to your local store. There will be signings. There will be free comics. There will be all kinds of surprises and fun. So if there's ever a day that you should go to your comic shop, it is Free Comic Book Day, giveaway day.
It turns out that somebody trademarked Free Comic Book Day, and there was some maybe hard feelings between different distributors. So they came up with their own name for the exact same thing, Comics Giveaway Day,
it's
on the
Random
same
House.
day.
It's PRH, just like PRH was like, we're not, because Free Comic Book Day was purchased by Universal. It's part of the whole Diamond diaspora. And basically PRH was like, well, we're not going to sign up on your, and that was something like,
we're going to do our own thing on the same day, doing the exact same thing.
We have to carry your comics if we're going to, and so it was like, you know what, whatever, go to your, who cares? Go to your, whatever it's called, go to your local comic shop. So anyway, well, Trayvon, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we'll probably be, Kate and I are back. We're going to try to keep doing this every other week, right, Kate?
Yeah. And Trayvon, where can our listeners find your books online?
Yes, you can find my books online where books are sold, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and the like. Yeah.
Do you
And
have
what's your
a page
social
for them?
media or social media pay handle so we can
Uh,
find you?
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at calming_insanity. You can find me on X as Trey the author. Yeah, and then you can find my books on Dreamsphere or deepheartsya.com.
Okay.
Awesome, amazing. So, well, we hope to have you back on
Yeah,
at some point. Definitely
happy to come.
come on back anytime. Whenever there's a riot at BookCon.
Yeah.
Well, oh, until next time, there will be more.
Two, they
Come.
come.
Woo!